When Baiken first came out, she had all the individual pieces of a top tier, ridiculous mix, great damage, and a slew of unique defensive options. But what she was missing was the foundation to bring it all together. But balance patch after balance patch, she got the attention she needed from both the players who decided to stick it through and the devs. And now from the fallout of the latest winter patch, you guys have made it quite clear she is reaching godhood and she needs to be stopped. She may be the toughest character I've covered yet, but we will bring her down to earth just like the rest.
卒じながら冥府はいずこ外道が笑えば神がなく諸行に拉致なき沙汰あれば魔道の始末を請負いいたす己は美容の三品と指導死に花無用の所存人来のゆえんをお教えしよう
その言葉の意味を知るのはお前自身
Baiken versus Kai. Duel 1.
If Baiken gets a clean hit, you're getting knocked down. And if you get knocked down, you're getting mixed. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You just have to guess. But that's just it. If she lands a clean hit, she may control the mid-range, but unlike other characters of her caliber, she can't convert very well from it. We're going to focus on that, forcing Baiken to take major risks for her insatiable mix. Then make her scared to use her parry, and like any great counterplay arc, we begin at round start. Baiken gets a lot of priority from the fact that Far Slash is faster than most, and during the animation of her backs is so compact, even trying to check or whip punish the move is quite difficult. Of course, you could forward punch the attack or low profile with a special move, but this leaves you open to a crouch slash, and most low profile specials are unsafe or just hand her a free turn if she decides to block. Fortunately, her only low option is her crouch heavy slash, which is big but slow, meaning we can safely transition into neutral consistently with a micro walk back into a low guard. It won't feel like a round start win at first, but remember, if you participate in the RPS and lose, you're getting knocked down into a dice roll, not another RPS, and no burst is not going to save you. Whereas if you're right, you're probably taking 50% of her health or a burst at best. So take solace in the fact you haven't already been put in a life or death situation, and you're actually moving into your most effective anti-Baiken range in neutral, where the heart of the matchup is. Let's talk about it. Baiken is great at locking down space in front of her in the mid-range, but she has trouble converting from these safe spaces. A well-spaced far slash can combo into Kabrity or Tatami on normal hit. Same goes for her disjointed crouch slash. So in the mid-range, you think she would just fish for counter hits, except you have no immediate reason to press anything in neutral because her crouch slash is not a low. So the onus is on her to close the distance and engage on her terms. Fortunate for us, she has plenty of ways to accomplish this. The most infamous method being harassing with the claw, Kabrity. It's a long-range disjoint that sets up immense pressure on hit, but on block it has its vacuum effect. You can reduce its effect with FD, but usually if you block this, it triggers a series of knowledge checks that we'll get into later. Remember, in neutral, our goal is to be right outside her slash ranges, so we should be able to avoid blocking the move altogether. Air dashing over is a great option because the move has so much recovery, but the issue is this is the only option I see everyone using to counter it. When you bottleneck yourself into doing only one thing in fighting games, only air dashing in this case, you do stand at the effective range we talked about, but now you're predictable in neutral. Let's investigate the anatomy of Kabrity's hitbox to look for other options, which we can do quite easily thanks to Dust Loop. See, now you'd think Kabrity's hitbox would be much taller considering the size of the claw, but it's just a horizontal box. And more importantly, it's a horizontal box above the waist. So we can forward punch it. If we decide to let the forward punch rip, one of three things will happen. The first situation we'll cover is the clash, which means as long as you buffer a normal or special following your punch, you'll be able to punish an unsuspecting Baiken. However, if the Baiken player is ready, this initiates a scramble that's in your favor. In the mid-range, Baiken has no fast specials to cancel into. Either version of Kabrity is too slow, she wouldn't be in range for Tatami Met, and she'd actually have to be insane to try and parry here. Shoutouts to Wuju. The fastest thing she could do is tap the dash macro in Tiger Neo Zansen. If they are this prepared though, you need to leave because today is not your day. Point is, if she wants to beat you in terms of speed, she has to use her normals. This is where your advantage lies. Her fastest normal that may reach you is Far Slash. Besides being 6P'able, of course, most characters either have a crouch slash that beats it clean, a special move that goes under it, or both. Even Potemkin can freestyle post-Clash with his armored options because Clash doesn't allow you to jump immediately. She can trade the speed of Far Slash for Crouch Slash, starting up in 11 frames instead. However, most characters have a faster Crouch Slash and still have special moves that crush both slashes. Setting up this situation in training mode is easy, but if you're new to labbing, let me know in the comments and I'll let you know how to set it up. Luckily for us, the hurt boxes of all 6Ps have been normalized as of patch 1.24, so there's less of a discrepancy between them, but they're still not made entirely equal. Startup is not standardized, so some 6Ps are more liable to whiff than others. There's no way to know when this will happen, so when you 6P Kabaddi, always buffer your options behind the move, then immediately block in case of whiff. She'll still be allowed to do her Kabaddi follow-up even on whiff, and in some cases, she can punish the whiff guaranteed. The final note as far as interactions involving 6P is distance. The closer you are, the more likely you are to land a counter hit. So if you suspect a wild Kabaddi in neutral, get as close as you can before you let the 6P rip. And in case you don't land a clean counter hit, buffer a quick special or normal behind it in case you clash. I know that was a lot, but once you can show that you can directly threaten the claw as well as jump over it, maybe even low profile it, she has to take some risk in the mid screen for a decent reward. The next gap closer of value is her crouch heavy slash, a deceptively long range low. It's slow to start up, very active, but has a ton of recovery. On whiff, you should be able to confidently punish, and on block, this forces her to special cancel. There's enough stun behind to make her special cancel gapless, so be ready to take either the tatami mat on block or the Kabaddi to end her turn. And lastly, we have her simply air dashing to close the gap. As simple as this seems, it's actually the most deadly of the approach options because she can flip jump in logic on its head. Normally, if you were to block a jump in high on your guard, you'd be able to recover while they were recovering from their landing, leading to something like this. I'm sure this has happened to all of us at one point or another, but Baiken can special cancel into Yozansen, making her entry not only safe, but if she does it low enough, she's even plus. You cannot afford to let her dash in. If you see the air dash, do not consider blocking as an option. You have to 6P her. Simple as that. So if she doesn't want to play the low risk, low reward game and bait your approach in neutral, or just can't because you have a better mid or long range game, she has these three avenues of approach: from above, from below, and reeling you in with the claw. Each has their own respective counters, with Kabaddi being the most dynamic, but as long as you stay mobile and keep 6P in the forefront of your mind, baiting her into making the first mistake in neutral is going to be a lot easier. But we can't keep her out forever, and if we manage to get the mix on wake up, we need to know how to defend ourselves afterwards. When Baiken's in your face, the worst thing you can do is smash. She has the most natural frame traps in the game that are including, but not limited to, stand kick, forward kick, bar slash, crouch heavy slash, crouch slash, crouch heavy slash, and close slash, forward heavy slash. And I really could keep going. Natural frame traps, meaning just executing them in the game, will net her a counter hit against you mashing 5 frame buttons while you're in block stun, which is what most characters have to contest with. And don't forget, in this context, she's already in, so these counter hits not only hurt, but also leading to a dice roll for the rest of your life bar. First thing you need to do is attain distance upon entry. If she's coming in from above and you know you can't answer her in time, don't just block, faultless defend. Same goes for wake up situation. Not every knockdown will be a trip to Schmixerization Station though. Sometimes a simple meaty is all she will have time for. For these cases, I recommend going for an instant block, faultless defense. It's a mouthful and also a handful. Let me explain. Because Baiken can't both strike and throw us at the same time as we get up because of grab protection, we can defend ourselves from the meaty strike and the meaty throw using system mechanics. While you're knocked down, start by holding down the 2 buttons you need to FD. Then instead of just holding back as you get up, you need to time your guard as you get up. Lastly, you input the throw after you've timed that block.
Success!
Now, to get this down, create a recording of the training dummy sweeping you, then hitting you with a meaty close slash as you get up. I recommend turning on play after position reset. That way, every time you reset the screen, the recording will autoplay. With this, you should be able to get the timing for the instant block down in about 10 minutes, or at least get a general sense of how to perform it. The best part about this tech is it applies to any meaty melee attack in the game. So yeah, there you go. Now, breaking the alleged grab is just as important too, because tether is a damage steroid for her, and of course, she gets mixed post throw as well. Luckily, the throw break window is bigger, so just be sure to grab after you time your guard, and this will protect you from her weaker knockdowns. Creating distance on block is huge, because if you ever played against Baiken, if her mid didn't get you, the following Yozansen or sweep did. Whether you get hit or blocked by the mix, her value is significantly reduced with distance. Watch this. Even after reaching top speed, as long as you FD her close slash, if you guess high on mix and get swept with the low instead, she can't even finish her staple bread and butter combo. Meaning just because you guess wrong doesn't mean you have to guess for your life. Same goes for instant overhead, which needs meter to convert from anyway, so you don't need to worry about this option as much. And naturally, instant block FD is even more effective. Now that we've weakened her mix, she'll have to rely on her other special to create opportunities, which are way easier to deal with. Let's get it. Baiken only has 2 specials she can do from a standard non-jump cancelable block string: Tatami Gaish and Kabaddi. Each come with their own little mind games. Tatami is quite straightforward, so let's start there. Tatami has 2 hitboxes, one as she summons it and the other while it's falling down. Blocking both will essentially reset neutral, where you can act a little bit sooner. But blocking only the second hit gives her plus frames, allowing her to reinitiate on her terms. So if that's what she's looking for, she'll try to push you back with an extended block string, or look for you to mindlessly hold the faultless defense button before letting the tatami mat rip. Once you identify this spacing here and see that the mat summon is coming and is going to whiff, you can swiftly punish accordingly with your character. If you're not confident in your reactions, then confidently backdash, knowing you're actionable first. Again, another example of distance crippling Baiken's kit, but she's not done quite yet. Kabaddi works in tandem with tatami. If Baiken wants to keep you close, Kabaddi will be our go-to. It has 2 forms, the slash version and heavy slash version. The slash version applies tether and is plus on block, but has a lot of startup, 31 frames of startup to be exact. So if she's ever selecting it during a block string, you should be able to react and throw out a button and counter hit her. But if you're not feeling confident, if you see it, just jump out. The tether version will most likely be used if she's desperate or the Baiken player knows you're too scared to contest. The heavy slash version, Claw, is a whole different story though. It's a hornet's nest of knowledge checks and RPSs. The most crucial piece of knowledge is whether you block the initial claw or the follow-up attack. Both are negative on block, -3 and -7 respectively. Most of the time, you'll be able to punish the follow-up attack with a low kick, because as the animation illustrates, it leaves her quite vulnerable. As for the initial attack, you can't just take your turn, because she has a frame 1 parry that's active long enough to punish an immediate punch, kick, and even 10 frame buttons like sweeps and slashes. And I know what you're thinking. I'll just do a slower attack, one that reaches, and I'll be fine. Well, with that line of thinking, what you actually just did is give her a free turn every time. And now you have to guess for your life. The big takeaway from these attacks is that they're negative on block, meaning you don't have to immediately do anything. Since she can't threaten a low once Kabaddi has been activated, I recommend simply walking back to see what her post Kabaddi habits are. If she likes to double down and go for the follow-up attack, punish accordingly. Lastly, she can go for the held version of the follow-up attack to attack from behind. Luckily though, you're in prime position to punish with grab if you're already holding back. Once the Baiken player realizes you're not going to get baited into an RPS, she'll try to use your conservative response to steal a turn, but we're going to stay one step ahead and be looking for this, and then quickly remind her she's the one negative on block. But if you don't want to take that risk, be confident in the fact that you're falling right back into the neutral structure we talked about earlier, and the onus is on her again to close the gap. Delaying a jump or backdash are swifter options that carry more risk in this situation, and don't forget, naturally FD helps with neutralizing her Kabaddi pressure as well. Now that we've slashed her mix and pressure, it's time to target her defense, starting with parry. Parry activates instantly but has a ton of recovery, making it realistically useful in two situations: on wake up and during frame traps. After being hard knocked down, most characters go in for their meaty close slashes to another offense. This plan goes out the window with parry, even more so than with the DP because it just does so much damage and allows her to meaty in return after the knockdown. But she can't parry everything. Projectiles are off the table, and luckily a lot of characters can just replace meaty close slash with their projectile and going about their business. Here's a little table I made for you guys. Green means you can meaty projectile and keep some pressure. Yellow means you can meaty projectile but lose considerable pressure. Red means you're gonna have to do a little more work because you don't have a projectile. Let's take Gio for example. She has no projectile, but she can meaty instead with a long range attack to nullify the effect of parry. After a few knockdowns of the Baiken being parry happy, on the next knockdown you can bait it out and cash out huge since she's in counter hit for the duration of it. Another tool in most melee characters' kits are cross-ups. You'll have to get creative with your character, but if you can come up with a way to delay your attack so you don't get parried, be safe from 6 feet, and punish backdashing after a hard knockdown, like I have here with this little setup with Gio, you can discourage use altogether. Easier said than done, but if you have any parry setups like this, let us know all about it in the comments. Now for frame traps. If you've got small gaps in your pressure to bait buttons, she can instead match parry while she's blocking. This forces you to play a more throw-centric strike-throw game, which in turn allows her to steal turns with her 4-frame stand punch. To avoid this altogether, you need to really stagger your block strings to fish for the parry. It'll feel quite unnatural to delay your strings by this much at first, but if you don't snuff out the parry early, the mental damage you're going to take long term throughout the set, especially if you're a strike throw character, is going to be too much. When you're suspicious they're mashing parry on block, looking for any gap in your strings, don't be afraid to just stop a string and reinitiate. Once you show the Baiken player you're willing to delay your strings to this extent, there's a risk now on both sides, and they don't know how or when it's coming. You do. Your goal isn't to eliminate the threat of the parry, that's just not possible. Your goal is to make the Baiken player just as scared to parry as you are to press. Once you've achieved this balance, you can treat your pressure like any other character with a DP. And once she doesn't trust her parry, you can treat her like any other character. Unless she has meter. Once Baiken gets 50% bar like most characters, her defensive capabilities increase significantly. She gets access to a reversal overdrive that's invincible on startup, and the anti-zoning tool in Kinju, aka the gun. But unlike most characters, she gets one of the strongest defensive option selects in the game, the parry option select. On wake up, she can parry any meaty melee strike, and even if you delay your meaty, she can cancel the with parry and get a second chance at that. On its own, it may not seem like much, but remember, she can threaten her reversal overdrive as well. So even if you have a meaty projectile to deal with it, chances are her reversal overdrive will still get you, leaving only a small subset of characters that don't have to fear for their lives on knockdown against Baiken. However, all is not lost. A well-timed cross-up like before will still protect you from both of these options while allowing you to maintain pressure. And naturally, using meter to counter meter works as well. Simply canceling the recovery of a projectile using RC can allow you to sneakily deal with both options as well. It is still a fighting game, so naturally, even this setup has counterplay, so the more setups you have in rotation, the better. And with that, it's time for everyone's favorite part of the video, the quiz. This time around, it will be multiple choice. I think this is a better format than a normal open answer because each choice will give a frame of reference for solutions, but of course if you feel you have a solution that's not listed, please let us know in the comments. The more solutions, the better. The situation will probably be using a character you're unfamiliar with, so before I give the answer, there will be a brief pause where you can pause the video and go to Dust Loop to get details on whichever character's kit. With that being said, let's get started. Situation 1, post wall break. You've managed to guess for your life correctly on wake up and score a wall break immediately after with Eno. Unfortunately, you don't have enough meter to wall break with super, so neutral is going to reset at this range. What do you do? Option 1, overdash immediately. Option 2, use anti to burst and scale. Option 3, use stroke the big tree. The answer here is stroke the big tree for several reasons. Most importantly, you low profile most of her best options, far slash and comedy. In the event she chooses something you can't go under like crouch slash, you have burst available and positive bonus guaranteeing a strong position post burst. Using anti to burst and scale will be giving away too much initiative in exchange for safety, and dashing in immediately is good but definitely more reckless than stroke. Alright, now that we're used to the format, let's move on to the next question. Situation 2, low, high. This time you're Leo. Baiken just landed a clean hit, so her bread and butter safe jump is on the way. So it's now time to guess for your life. But you're both low on HP. What do you do? Option 1, block low. Option 2, block high. Option 3, mash punch. This one here is quite tricky because the idea is to actually get hit. Say we want to get hit by the overhead, not the low, if we're going to get hit. If we're in the corner and we get hit by the low, she's going to get a full combo and we're going to die. Whereas with the overhead, yes, we will get hit, but we will not die. And because Baiken has no meter, one of two things will happen. She will jail you with the jab, allowing you to YRC out. Or if she doesn't jail you, this will give you enough time to DP to kill her, or RC in the event she actually baits the DP and blocks. From there, you can RC and take the offensive. As for mashing, yeah, that's just not the move when someone safe jumps you with a projectile. So if you chose that, yeah, that's just wrong. Next question, situation 3, the corner conundrum. Things are a little different this time around. We have her on the back foot as Ram in the corner. We just scored a hard knockdown and we're in position for an attack as soon as she gets up. What do we do? Option 1, meaty HS Bayonetto. Option 2, meaty far slash at Ram's tipper range. Option 3, meaty close slash. This one is pretty straightforward, but not so straightforward. We can just meaty close slash on her wake up. We have to respect parry here. And even though taking advantage of Ram's big buttons is a good option with the tip or far slash, since we're in the corner, we can meaty sword toss on her wake up and she can't do anything about it. This is without a doubt the correct answer of the 3. Situation 4, Flames of Corruption. For the final question, we have another nail biter, but this time you're in control, or at least it looks like it. As Soul, you've just gotten a hard knockdown, and with 50% tension gauge, you have to take initiative on wake up. But what exactly do you do? Option 1, Heavy Mob Cemetery. Option 2, Gunflame RC. Option 3, Command Grab. Option select. One thing's for sure, Heavy Mob Cemetery would look cool, and it would be parry, but its immense startup could easily be reacted to. Chances are the Baiken would just see it and jump out the way. Command Grab option select is a lot more ambiguous and a little bit more safe, but in order to time it meaty, you'd get eaten alive by her reversal overdrive, leaving us with Gun Flame RC. And this option is really cool because it not only punishes parry, it also punishes her overdrive, and most importantly, leaves her with no escape option in the event she uses the parry option select we talked about earlier. This option maximizes reward and minimizes risk. I'd actually call this the Baiken killer if I play Soul. And if she blocks the Gunflame, we still have the prio that we had before. We could Gunflame again, we could do whatever. She's the one who's sitting there and block stun from the Gunflame. Again, Soul mains, let us know if you have any other setups like this in the comments. Well, ladies and gentlemen, and Daredevils alike, that has got to be the most challenging quiz I have published yet. I had to push your understanding of the matchup and our understanding of system mechanics because that is what is required to play this matchup comfortably. She didn't say she was top 5 at the beginning for nothing, but I'm confident most of you guys got at least 2 right. Take a look at your rank and let me know what y'all got in the comments. Fortunately, the winter patch was more about making gods mortal than anything else, so I don't think I'll need to make another one of these videos for a while. Going forward, I'll be actually condensing all the counterplay greatness into shorts as the need arises, but don't think for a second if evil comes to strive, I will not restore balance once again. I know people are tired of getting schmicked, so be sure to share this with friends and family. And if you haven't already subscribed with notifications on, go ahead and do so, because we're going to be showing the same love to Street Fighter 6 and Project L this year. As always, much love. Kairos out.